So I've been doing something in my own personal reading life that has really helped me get the most I can out of books. Now I've noticed that not every book needs to go through this sort of rigorous academic process, but there are certain books in my life that mean a lot to me that I want to do more than just read. I'd like to be able to lean on those books for the rest of my career, long into the end days of my life, maybe because they're inspirational or because there's so much there that I'd like to reference in order to combine those ideas with books from other ideas. And so I have recently started the practice of creating book notes. This is not something new. A lot of people do this online, but I have always sort of put this practice off because of the amount of work it takes. And I've just been so excited to read the next book that I haven't really taken the time to hit pause and create a proper set of book notes for the books that I care about. And so today I want to walk you through the process that I've begun. It's really helped me personally to make the most of the material. And if you get something out of this as a reader, then hopefully it will help you too. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Read Well podcast. My name is Eddie Hood, and today we're talking about book notes. So this is something I've always wanted to do for a very long time. Well, recently I read Walden by Henry David Thoreau. The first time I read this, it was in 11th grade English. So Mr. Pendleton, if you are watching this, thank you for introducing me to the great transcendentalist thinker, Henry David Thoreau. I read it back then, I didn't fully understand it, and my whole life I have wanted to reread it, knowing that the core principles of the book would mean a lot to me if I took the time to really understand them. When I first start a book, I've got my reading kit with me, so you've all probably seen this before. It's just a gray bag, and I have a little door that opens here, and it's got all my colored highlights in there. And then inside of this pouch, there are things like a pocket thesaurus and a dictionary and 3x5 cards and so on. So this goes with me anytime I'm reading a book that I want to study. And Walden was definitely one of those. Now, my process is to read a book without friction. So if I have to stop in the middle of a reading session to do a bunch of work, it's going to be a pain in the neck. I don't want to do that. I want to just keep reading and enjoy the book. So what I do is I keep my highlighters with me, and all I do when I read is I'll go through until I find a specific passage that means something to me. And I don't know if you can see this, but I will just put a highlighted mark down the inside spine of that passage. So this one's green. There are different meanings for the different colors. So here's a blue one down here. I don't know if you can see there's a little blue mark right there. You'll also notice that there is a blue flag, a post-it flag, to indicate that on this page of the book, there is a blue mark. Now, really quickly, I have, I believe, 5 colors in my system. This isn't what this video is about, but you might have questions, so I'll quickly go over those. If I highlight it in blue, that's a primary idea of the book, sort of a key pillar idea. If I highlight it in green, that's a secondary idea, something to support it that adds to the argument. If I highlight it in yellow, that's a quote that I thought would be fascinating, something that I would like to add to my book of quotes that I can use in my life. If I highlight it pink, that's a source that the author used in his or her writing that I think would be interesting and I'd like to read myself later on. And then finally, the most famous highlighter in my bag that everybody loves is the yellow highlighter. These are the highlights that I don't agree with. So anytime an author says something that I'm just like, man, that's off, I highlight it yellow. So if you look at Henry David Thoreau's book here, I've got lots of flags in here. These are passages that I thought were useful. Lots of green and blue and orange and everything else. So all I do when I'm reading a book, stage 1 of turning a critical book into a set of book notes, is to just highlight passages and keep reading. I don't put the flags in yet. I don't write, you'll notice here I've got an orange flag with some text on the side. I don't write that text right now either because it would require me to stop. I just highlight it orange because I think, hey, that's a good quote. And then I move on, and that's it. I get through the whole book, and then when I'm done with that, I'll come back in 2 or 3 days, and I will go through and process those highlights. So what I do, if I see a green passage, I'll add a green flag so that I can find it later on. And then I'll write a little note in black as a title to that passage. So I titled this one Foundation right here. Okay, so in this particular passage, Thoreau was talking about the foundations of a house, I believe. Yeah. Now we need to add those particular passages into a a set of notes. You need to get them out of the book into a note-taking app of some kind. You can use Notion, you can use, there's 1,000 things. You can use Apple Notes. But the goal is to get the passages out of the book and into a tool that you can begin to play with and analyze. Okay, let's look at what a final set of book notes will look like. I'll be posting those on my website here at thereadwellpodcast.com. Also, just as a side note, I do have a newsletter. It's absolutely free. You can subscribe to that right here. Just put in your name and your email address. And what I'll do is I'll send you a message every Wednesday on reading deeply and give you tips and suggestions, as well as some interesting things to consider reading. But up in the navigation here, you'll see book notes. Now, if I click on that, it will take you to this new page where I will begin posting notes from critical texts that I've begun to read or have finished, obviously. So you'll notice it's March 2024, which is when I'm filming this, and I've got Walden here by Henry David Thoreau. So if you click into this, you'll see a big, beautiful picture of the book, an older version, which I think is fantastic. But below that, here is how I am presenting my notes. And you'll see how the first 3 steps of processing these notes will help you to develop something like this. So first of all, your notes should have the title, in my opinion, of the book, along with your own personal rating of it. I've rated Walden 8 out of 10. You might be saying, well, why isn't it 10 out of 10? Don't you love Thoreau? I do. But there are large parts of the book where Thoreau is talking about nature, and he's documenting everything from the thickness of the ice on Walden Pond to the flight patterns of geese. And it can be a little hard at times to stay patient and work through those passages. So for me, 8 out of 10. But here's my abstract. This is just a summary of the book, which I think is important that you write in your own words what you consider the book to be about. Then I've got a section for direct quotes, and I have organized these by topic. So that's the next thing we want to do, is to consider what is the best way for you to sort of break up this book into logical segments. For me, when it came to Walden, it was by topic of interest. So in this book, he talks about finances, he talks about psychology, he talks about quality of life, and so on. And in the direct quotes section, all I'm doing is copying word for word, along with the page number and the concept. I'm copying again word for word the exact quote, because I think that is interesting or inspirational or what have you. Now, below the direct quotes, I have quite a few here. Below those, I have the analysis of key passages. So here is where I begin to rely on Highlightish, or you could again use Apple Notes or Notion or whatever. But I have grouped all of my highlights by tag. And so the highlights I found fascinating under the tag of books will come first. And I've given that the page number as well as a title for the highlight. Now here's the passage from the book. And then this is the most important thing if you're doing book notes. I think you should add an analysis below that of what you consider that passage to mean. So in your own words, writing out why you selected that passage and why it deserves a spot in your book notes. So I've done that there's over 30 book notes here on Walden, everything again from finances to psychology, and I've grouped them by those topics. Now at the bottom of these notes, I think it's also important that you get to a conclusion of some sort that talks about the ultimate response you felt in reading the book. So go ahead and type up your reasoning for reading it, why you think other people should read it, and so on. So why would you want to create book notes? That seems like a lot of work. Why not just read the book and potentially highlight a few passages and be done with it? Well, the main reason why is because if a book is going to be absolutely necessary to your future work, something that you're sort of trying to tackle, whether it's a project or a philosophy or something that's just really important to you, I'm going to argue that it's worth the investment to build good book notes, because you will be able to, one, learn way more going through this process from the author in the book, and two, you'll have a durable set of notes down the road that you can reference at any time, which is an organized way of thinking about the book, rather than just going through the pages trying to figure out where that specific or interesting thing was. Hey, if you found this episode helpful, again, I want to thank you for watching. Your support means the world to me. And if you would like a weekly message from me on how to read deeply, again, go to thereadwellpodcast.com so that you can get access to my free newsletter. Just go ahead and subscribe there. And I publish that every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And again, it's written by me, no AI or anything. It's just thoughtful with the idea of trying to help all of us improve our experience of reading. Again, thank you for watching, and as always, remember to read slowly, take notes, and apply the ideas. I'll see you all next week.